Hey, family. It's your family CPA, Jasmine Young, and you're listening to the Talk Wealthy to Me podcast. Get you a black CPA. We out here.
Welcome. Happy New Year, guys. We made it. It's 2022, and I know it has been a long time since you guys have heard from us. We've been in a pandemic for about almost 3 years now. So almost.
It feels like 5 years, right?
Feels like 5 years. Yeah.
It started in March of 2020.
Yeah, so it's been a while, and I know it's been a while since you guys have heard from me. And we're gonna talk about that. A lot of people have been dealing with mental health, so it's only right that we bring in the new year, assessing mental health, and I'll even be open and talk about my mental health, what happened with the abrupt ending of season 2, and how I was able to come back in season 3. And while I'm doing that, I have to mention the special guest for today's show, Miss Ursula Lentine. She has been, I would say, 1/3 of the reason why I've been able to come back into 2022 like I have. The other 2/3 would be my will to want to come back, and then of course the universe aligning things for me to come back. And she was a part of that. So, Ursula, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Jasmine. I'm delighted to be here. First episode of season 3. I feel honored, and I really appreciate you.
I'm so glad that you decided to come. Of course, I know who you are to me, but tell our conversationalists, as we like to call our listeners, who you are and what you do.
Well, I am a spark of the universe, identified as Ursula, as you are also a spark of the universe. I come from the premise that we are animated by a force much greater than our ego. So when we think we're in charge, it's kind of the joke that's not funny.
Right.
Because I'm not in charge of beating my heart or breathing my lungs. Something greater than me is doing that. Now, there's many names. People call it God. I call it consciousness or energy. Some people call it Christ consciousness. Some people call it like the Lord within, like whatever. It's all the same. We just have different belief systems to get us there. But we can mostly agree something greater than us is beating our heart and breathing our lungs. So who I am is a unit of energy called Ursula, living a life experience. I have a soul. I have my ancestors coming down on me and watching over me. I'm carrying the load of everything that has happened before me, and it is my consciousness and my privilege to make better decisions so I can create heaven on earth.
Absolutely. So I know you guys are probably wondering, what is Ursula to me? How does she play into this? I'm not sure how many of you follow me on Facebook, but back in the week of Christmas, I think it was the Tuesday before Christmas, I gave the gift of transparency. I did a Facebook and IG Live where I explained where I've been for the past 6 months. If you guys follow us, you follow the show, you know our parent firm, which is my CPA firm, Southern Tax Preparation and Services. We have a nonprofit called the Financial Literacy Institute, and we did an event called the Black Wall Street Black Business Expo. Awesome event. People loved it. I love to do it. We're actually doing it again this year. Stay tuned. Make sure you subscribe to the show to get that. But after that event, I was depleted, and I went off the radar for a very long time. People thought I was just resting, and I was, but I was drowning. My mental health was not well. Most people look at me and think, oh, she just has it all together. Everything is just perfect. And I was not perfect. I've never been perfect, first of all. But most people thought everything was okay, and it wasn't. I have always dealt with anxiety and depression. I wasn't clinically diagnosed until like 2011. So I was drowning in it, and I spent a lot of time asleep. Now, most people have their own ways of how they deal with anxiety and depression, but my advice was sleep so that I did not have to deal with life. I had gotten to the point where I actually told my mom that I didn't want to live anymore. And that was the first time I've ever versed it to her. And I've been through therapy, counseling, on medication. I was just so tired of doing the same thing and getting the same result. And I remember doing a speaking engagement at the Buckhead Club, and in walks Ursula. And she comes over and she introduces herself and she says, "Hi, I'm Ursula." And I was like, "Oh, I'm Jasmine. Nice to meet you." And she just walked away. And I was like, I gotta know who that lady is. I remember it just as plain as day because she wasn't pitching herself to me, talking about what she needed with her business. She just introduced herself. And I later on found out that she was a light worker. So I was like, man, I gotta find Ursula. I gotta talk to her. And Ursula, literally, y'all, the things that I have went through with therapy, I loved my therapist, still do. We all have great relationships to this day. But there was just, it just felt like I wasn't getting what I needed. So I went to Ursula, and I joined her 6-month pranic healing service. And now I'm here. And I really don't know how to explain the inner workings of that. So Ursula, I'm going to let you take it away and tell us, like, what is pranic healing? Like, how does that affect your mental health and why should people do it?
Okay, a lot of people know me as pranic healing, but the work that you and I have been doing is subconscious work called internal family systems. Pranic healing is the class you're going to be taking in the spring. That is energy healing, learning the foundation of what is energy, how it works, how you can work with it, and how to make sure that we're protected, that we're sending out good energy, that negative energy doesn't get on us, because those of us who are empathic, who can feel other people's feelings, that's a part of the drowning, right? The too many emotions because you don't even know which ones are yours. My cat is decided to join us.
Oh, hello.
So pranic healing is an energy healing created by Master Chokkuk Sui. It's amazing. Reiki for me was the introduction to energy healing, and pranic healing is like university level. It has books where you can go through protocols. Like if somebody has a headache, you just open to headache page and you follow which chakras to heal. It's very amazing. There's a beautiful meditation that I do every Tuesday night that's a part of pranic healing, and I invite all of your listeners to come join me. It's online or in person, 7 o'clock, and we can give that information. And we bless the planet with loving kindness. So all belief systems are welcome because the world needs some help, especially in these kinds of days.
Exactly.
So the work you and I do together is called internal family systems, which is a misnomer because it doesn't make much sense.
Right.
And it just adds to the difficulty of explaining like what it is that we're doing.
Right. So I'll give a little bit of background about why we went with that specific work. What people don't see about me, they usually get she's a professional, she has a great career, she's smart, she's a boss, whatever you want to call it. But what they didn't know is that I dealt with a lot of things internally, like social anxiety. People don't know that I'm an introvert. I really enjoy being in my own space. I can people, but I can only people for a certain amount of time because I feel other people's energy and I did take on other people's energy. So it was always draining for me to be out long periods of time around people constantly. I just couldn't do it. And then on top of that, I had no idea who I was outside of my profession. So I had a lot of internal issues. I struggled with self-esteem. I never saw until I met Ursula. I never saw myself as beautiful. I never saw myself as worthy. I always felt like there was something wrong with me and I didn't know why. All the things that have happened to me in my childhood that I won't go into. But it actually made me feel as if why did it have to happen to me? What is it about me that caused these things to happen? I'm a good person. I don't hurt people. I care about people. I'm an empath. Why am I the one that always ends up hurting? And Ursula literally went into my subconscious and helped me unpack all of my emotional trauma. And there's still work to do. I don't think we're done. We're only like, 2 or 3 months in, and I feel great. I don't know if you guys can tell in my voice or in my face if you're watching online. I feel great. This is the most alive I've ever felt. But I will say, before I started working with you, I was in a very dark place, and only those close to me really, really knew it. So that is the reason why we did the internal family work, because I had some wounds from family members, from people that I was in relationships with prior to meeting you, that just would not go away. Medicine didn't help. Counseling didn't help. Meditating didn't help. Vacationing didn't help. Overworking nothing was working.
I'm glad you named all those, because those are strategies that people use to make it go away.
Right. And then it was like, I could not even with me working so much and being this successful professional person that people think I am, I couldn't even enjoy my success because I always felt like it wasn't enough. So everybody's congratulating me on, oh, you did such a great job. The event was great. Your firm is growing. You're just awesome. And I'm just like, I don't feel that at all. It got to the point where I couldn't feel anything. I was numb. And when I met Ursula, it was like, okay, I've tried everything. Why not? And it was probably the best decision I have made in my 30 years of living. I have never felt how I feel in all my 30 years. To be able to look at myself and not feel disgusted. To be able to be around other people and not feel that I have to compare myself to somebody else to say, well, because I don't look like her, then I'm less than. Or because I don't have this or I don't have that, or people don't respond to me in this way, I'm just not worthy. I don't have that feeling anymore. So talk a little bit about what the process looked like for those that are dealing with mental health issues and they've done everything like I did. How do they get started? Like, what is the work that we do? What exactly is it for those that are looking for understanding?
Good. I'm glad you're asking that. First of all, like you, they have to be at a point of they're willing to surrender. They're willing, like, just to try something completely outside of their reality. And that's when when people come to me, they're ripe. You were ripe. You were like, I'm in the bed, I can't get out, I'm not okay. I'm not suicidal, but I'm not okay. And I was like, okay. And it has to have a willing heart. That's the number one thing. That's like the only thing I need. It doesn't matter how bad. I've had 5,000 sessions already.
Wow.
So, people are in good hands when they come to me. And I've heard so many times, I've been to counseling for so many years, and, we did one session and they've never even gotten close to where, we are today. And it's just like that. So it's that willing heart that I just need a flicker of hope. And then that's the person that can come to me. And I come from a spiritual point of view. So the therapy, I'm not a therapist. I do this work through my spiritual ministerial license. And my ministry is metaphysics. The boiled down version is a happy man lives in a happy world. An angry man lives in an angry world. And they're next door neighbors. How can that be? Because how we experience life is how we perceive it.
Right.
So someone can say, oh, I'm hurt, I'm this, I'm that, I'm broken, I'm damaged. Okay, that's fine. Because I know who you really are. You're a child of God. You're a spark of light. You're a beautiful energy unit here to express something on purpose. And all I have to do is unburden these belief systems, the experiences, the family traumas that we carry from generations, and get all of that yucky stuff off so the person can bloom and be who they authentically are. And that's why you're so happy, because you know who you are now.
Exactly. And I never knew that in all my 30 years. I spent a lot of time building myself up professionally to overcompensate.
That's right.
For not knowing who I was personally. So I had this representative that, if people saw this person, then they wouldn't question my instability personally. And then behind the scenes, I was still trying to figure out, okay, I know who I am professionally, but who am I personally? I was trying to basically say those were two different people. But when I started working with you, I realized how connected the two were, that it's the same person. We just have different parts. I have a professional part, and then I have my personal part, but my personal part bleeds into my professional part, which allows me to create relationships with the people that we work with. So I was doing it wrong.
No, you weren't. You weren't doing it wrong, so to say. You were doing it the only way you knew how.
Right.
You know, and then the things that we have that we're like, why am I and why me? And how come I can't put this drink down? How come I can't stop hanging out with these kind of people? And how come, and what's the matter with me? How come I never can earn the money? And how come, I always beat myself up in my head all day long? These are the things that I hear, and it's because they've been handed down to you. Addiction isn't something like you're like, oh, it's something that happens. It's your environment, it's your circumstances.
Right.
So people feel terrible about their behavior, and emotions drive behavior. So I say, okay, well, let's look at the emotions. Where do these come from? And those come from belief systems that we've been taught, that we've watched before us. The behavior is exhibited, and then we copy it. Monkey see, monkey do. We're children. We don't know. So we're like, blinded, going through life, not knowing and seeing who we are because we're so burdened.
Exactly.
And it's everybody. People think like you, like, I don't say anything.
Right. And that was one of the things I dealt with, that I felt like, nobody else is going through this. Why am I going through this?
Yeah.
And not realizing that there's so many hurt people around us, especially now, and we're in the middle of a pandemic.
Ooh.
People's minds are crazy. And right now, the Omicron variant is popping up, and then there's a cross of the flu and the COVID-19 virus together. So people are really like in a bad space mentally.
Worse than people realize, because the media is controlling the information. And I haven't had a television, I haven't owned a television in probably like 20 years. And I thought, when I did have one, I thought I had to. I thought like, everybody has to have a television. I never watched it, but I owned it and it was in the closet. Like I thought, can I give out this? So I finally was like, no, I don't even. And the deal is, because I understood TV, that it's programming. They even call it programming.
TV, you're right.
So when I was married, my husband used to watch 3 hours of news every night. And out of all of television shows, the news would be the last thing that I would be interested in. But because I'm
not interested in the news either.
No, but I could see right through. Because he would go to this station and this station, and they'd tell the same story, but they would tell it differently. So I started having the mind where I could see what they weren't saying and how they avoided saying the obvious thing. So I was like a detective, and I was like, So the news is bad. It makes people feel bad. Right. And then the pharmaceutical, who's the sponsor, who pays for that program, is the drug company. And you got people, dancing around in fields of daisies to make and say, bye, the news just made you feel bad. So now you can feel better with this pill. And then they say as fast as they can, but be careful because your hair could fall out and then you could get cancer.
Right. That's so crazy. We were talking about that the other day. It's like you go and get medicine for something, and then the side effect of the medicine is what you're trying to avoid. Like, that's crazy.
It is insanity, right? But if we hear our brain, if we hear the same thing over and over again, we believe it as being truth.
Exactly.
So we're being systematically programmed for as long as TV's been in existence, and they're getting smarter and smarter and smarter. The colors, the movement, the timing, the voice inflections, like it's a science of what's going on there, and we're being hypnotized.
Right.
So with this COVID and everything like that, the fear is bigger than the actual disease. So I watch, because I see a lot of things. I can look at somebody and I can look right through them and see their soul. And what I look for is that glimmer and that light. I can see all the darkness, but that's not what I look at, because what fun is that?
Right.
So when I study systems of media and religion and the banking system and the education system and the food and drug system that should not be together, because the foods that we're eating are very unhealthy.
Very.
And then you need drugs because you have an unhealthy body.
Right.
You see, they're working together.
Mhm.
So I am not buying into the fear of these diseases that are going on right now because they're not as bad as the people are saying them. And I've studied because I want to know the truth. Something inside of me says, something's not right. So I study what goes on behind the scenes. And most people that they say, oh, it's COVID death, that they're looking for the coronavirus that everybody has. Like we all have it. Just like they say everybody has some cancer cells in there, but
Mhm.
when they get really big is when they turn into a problem. So
Right.
we all have corona. The first clue is the Lysol can.
Mm. I think somebody pointed that out in 2019. It's on the can.
Right,
It's on the can.
right. So I was like, something's not right. So there's like the fear is going on, and it's
Right.
causing. So sorry, the point was the most people have corona. Um, so the people that they are saying, oh, they died of the COVID-19, no, they had corona in their system, so they can say they died with COVID, not from COVID.
Right.
Most of those massive numbers are heart disease. They fell off a cliff. They got in a car accident, like all these other things.
But they're
That,
attributing it to the pandemic.
right.
Yeah, they're feeding off the fear. And I want to talk about that point about fear. Because I dealt with it in the time that I was working with you. And that was one of the reasons why I gave the gift of transparency the week of Christmas. Because I had been hiding for so long. I felt like, I didn't want to be out because I felt like if I was, people could see what I saw about myself. They could sense things. I was afraid for people to know what was really, really going on. But I will say fear was probably my greatest helper. It was my greatest helper because I realized that if I took the power from the fear, then I have nothing to fear anymore. So I
That's right.
started if you guys have followed us on social media, I'm pretty sure you saw my posts start to change. They became a lot more personable. I was myself. I am myself. Because I basically said, you know what, these things that I fear, I'm giving them power by hiding them. So let me
Right.
just go ahead and tell you guys, hey, I have PCOS. Hey, I also have hidradenitis suppurativa. I also suffer from social anxiety. I also have anxiety and depression. I've been medicated since 2011. I had self-esteem issues as far as I can remember, back to 3 or 4 years old. Here I am. And now it's just like, there's nothing anybody can say
Right.
to me about me to make me ashamed of me.
That's right.
So,
And you're right, because when we give fear, and another one that's another like awful thing to live with is shame.
yes.
Oh, shame is so cruel to us.
Right.
And sometimes we're born and our family carries shame and we don't even know because they don't want to tell the secrets.
Right.
So the secrets will die with the shameful person, and then everyone is like, well, whatever. And then the child gets born like just covered in shame and has no clue.
That's something that I remember us working on. A lot of things that I realized I dealt with was things that my mom dealt with and generations before her. So a lot of things that I couldn't understand, like, why do I feel this way? Where did this come from? It came from my heritage.
Yes.
Like, I inherited certain things, not knowing that I inherited it until I started to get closer and closer or deeper into my personal spiritual work and trying to figure out, why am I this way and how do I really fix it? So instead of going outward and working and getting all these accolades and making all of this money, I decided, you know what? None of this is going to do me any good if I feel terrible on the inside. So let me go inward and try to clean some of this stuff up. And that's what you did. You literally went in and just started scooping stuff out. And it was probably the best decision I ever made. So,
And you're right when you were saying, like a third and a third and a third. The universe conspired for us to
to
meet.
me, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because like we just met, like we weren't I guess we were supposed to meet, but it
Yeah,
wasn't
we were
like.
like on two opposite ends of the table. Like
Mhm.
you even left before I could even say anything to you. I had to like stalk you from somebody else that was in the at the event, and I was like, "Hey, do you know her? Can you give me her information?" I didn't even get a chance to like talk to you to figure out like what is it that you really do. But I knew it was like this light that I was drawn to, and I was like, I gotta talk to her.
That's
Everyone else is
awesome.
talking, but I was like, I want to talk to her.
I didn't know that. That's awesome
Yeah,
because then we had another Zoom
we
meeting with
did.
What Women Want, and you were there, and I was like, I gotta talk to her. She
Yeah,
was so cool, and then we
yeah,
connected. Yeah.
yeah.
I have one more point about this pandemic that we're in. If people can go to CDC on and I'll post it again on my Facebook page, which is all my media, all my social media is Ursula Lentine, whatever, gmail.com, all of that. But CDC even buried, right? It's not on their front page, but how damaging isolation is.
Mm,
It's like
it
increase in heart disease, increase in suicide, increase in, like physical issues, not
right.
just mental issues, but
And
actual physical
that's
issues.
one of the things I would do. Like when I felt myself getting in a like spiraling, that was the first thing I wanted to do. I wanted to get away from people. I didn't want to be around anybody. I don't want to talk, no phone calls, no meeting, no nothing. Just leave me alone. And
But that makes it worse.
it makes it worse. It makes it worse. Definitely makes it worse. So for people that are afraid to overcome the fear, what would you recommend to them? Like what is the first step? They of course they have to have a willing heart. But what if they struggle with it? What do they do?
I would say come to my meditation on Tuesdays.
Mm-hmm.
They just have to show up. They just have to sit there. People who have never meditated in their whole life can come. People who think, I cannot meditate, I can't quiet my mind. Okay, come anyway.
And that's
Come
something I
anyway.
struggle with too. Like the anxiety, I could not stop thinking. Like the thoughts would get so loud sometimes that I would have a panic attack because I could not control it. You guys, if I can meditate, you can meditate because the voices were really loud. And then the voice wasn't even my voice. It was a male voice. We discovered that while we were doing work, that the voice I was hearing didn't even belong to me. I had never heard my own voice in my head. And I had no idea, why is the voice speaking to me, a male voice? This is not my voice. This makes no sense. Right. And it was always saying things to me that were hurtful, that made me feel even worse.
Right.
Couldn't understand it until I met Ursula. So the moral of the story, guys, is mental health is very important. Whatever your method is, please do not give up. There are people out here like Ursula Lentine that can help you, and there are people going through the same thing that you're going through, i.e., me. I went through it. Lots of people. So don't isolate. That's the first thing. Reach out to Ursula. Online meditations. You can come online. You can come in person. If you have a therapist, keep going. If you don't have a therapist, get one. You definitely need to evaluate your mental health because it's very important, especially in a time like this during the pandemic where we can't see the end of it because of all the programming. Mental health is very important, and health is wealth to you guys. So Ursula, if you had to leave a message for all of our conversationalists for their mental health for 2022, what would you say?
The problem is inside of us. It's how we respond to life that stresses us out. Therefore, the answers are also inside of us.
I love it. I love it. It's inside you guys. So for all of you that are, using things outside of yourself to cope, look inward. I can attest to that as well. I was using work and sleep and anything I could think of to cope. And when I went inward and actually worked on myself, it's ugly in there. It's ugly in there, but it's beauty inside of the ugliness if you clean all of that stuff out.
That's right.
So please, you guys, take care of yourselves. There's a lot going on in the world. Wear your mask, be safe. If you need someone to talk to, reach out to Talk Wealthy to me. We'll talk healthy to you as well. If you need help or if you just need a listening ear, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. Ursula, do you have social media for people to connect with you? If so, please give that information.
Yes, I have Facebook, I have Instagram, I have LinkedIn, I have YouTube. If you want to get to know me, I have put over 100 videos on there. Go look. That's why I'm doing it. I'm sharing it so people can have some trust to say, okay, this woman's decent. I had a woman who met me 2 years ago and she had my card and she was like, I wasn't ready. And then she finally had the courage to call me and we had a great conversation. So I do offer a 20-minute free call.
Okay.
Just to say what's going on, what's happening, and then how I work and how I could help them solve those problems. And why I like to do the internal family systems rather than a regular therapy is because the client leads the work. I don't make people dependent on me. I encourage and inspire, and I'm the GPS system.
Right.
So I really love to see how empowered you are. You know, I'm like, yeah, you know, this is how it is.
Right.
So it's really exciting for me. So I have those, my website. So everything is Ursula Lentine, and then, you know, whatever the social media is.
All right. And we'll definitely be posting that on our Twitter and Instagram and Facebook page so that you guys can go follow her, go bug her, go book her calendar out. And get the help that you need. Ursula, thank you so much for coming. I love you and I appreciate you so much for coming.
Thank you for sharing your gift and your light and your transformation.
Absolutely. I could not have done it without you, and in addition to the other 2/3 of this thing we call me. So thank you so much for everything that you've done for me and everything that you're doing for the universe. It is definitely needed and it is not going unnoticed. So you guys, thank you for hanging in there with Talk Wealthy to me. I know you guys missed us, but we are back better than ever. Make sure you subscribe to the show. Go to anchor.fm/Southern Tax Prep. Follow the show, subscribe, and share it with someone else that you may not think listens to the show. The more people we have having the conversation about mental health, the better. So you guys stay safe. I wish you love, peace, and wealth.
Somebody say, hey.